Good afternoon, my dear friends. My name is Aliya Kurmasheva and I will be your English teacher today. Today we are going to speak about a very interesting topic. The name of it is the open window. Try to guess. What are we going to discuss today? Okay, this is the name of a very interesting story, but you will know about it a little bit later. What are our learning objectives? The first one is to expand your vocabulary associated with describing people's character, to develop your ability to use a variety of adjectives describing people's character traits, and to improve your ability to negotiate in pairs and also to provide peer assessment. What is more, is to develop your ability to understand the whole audio track with the help of keywords and to do the task. To read a story. What is the name of our story? Yes, brilliant, The Open Window. And try to predict the continuation of it. To practice doing true or false tasks and to write a detailed description of one character from the story. Are you ready to do it? Let's start. Is it possible to determine a person's character from their appearance? Have you ever practiced to doing that? Yes or no? Look at the picture. What sorts of people do you think the ones in the photo are? Have a look at the beautiful lady by the number 1, the guy by number 2, very intriguing lady number 3, 4, 5 and 6. Do you have any ideas? Let's give some names to them. For example, Jake seems to be very serious and maybe slightly arrogant. Have you noticed that? Do you agree with me? Simon, probably hardworking and very organized man. Maxine, probably she has a good sense of humor and she's easygoing. What about Jerry? Yeah, he is confident and ambitious. What's your idea about Dominic? I think that probably he is intelligent and romantic. And what about Lily? Yeah, she is quiet and independent. So, now please complete Ed and Katie's lists about who they would or wouldn't not choose as their new flatmate. You can see a table here. I like, this is Ed's opinion and something that Ed would not choose. And we have 4 criteria. The first one is people who enjoy laughing a lot. People who always try to do their job well. People who want to be successful. And also people who are good at learning and understanding things. Please write the names of the people above. And we have 2 descriptions of people that he would not choose. That are people who think they're better than other people and people who don't talk much. And what about our beautiful lady? Again, we have 4 criteria of the people that she would choose as her flatmate. That are people who are relaxed and don't get upset easily, people who are sure they can do things well, people who like to do things to show their love for someone, and people who plan this well and don't waste time. And we have 2 descriptions for people that she would not choose as her flatmate. That are people who don't laugh much, and finally, people who never want help but like to do things themselves. Are you ready to check your answers? Have a look. So in Ed's case, we have Maxine, Simon, Jerry, Dominique, Jake, and Lily. And in the second case, we have Maxine, Jerry, Dominique, Simon, Jake, and Lily. Good job. Let's go further. What character traits, if any, do people sometimes associate with the following physical characteristics? For example, what do you think about the character of a person if he has large white eyes, or probably small and close together eyes, or even a thin mouth, or a full mouth, or even a high forehead? Do you have any ideas about the character of this person? That is a very interesting question and the topic for discussion. And we are going to go further and to increase your vocabulary. Try to guess the word by its definition. Keep writing all the time in your copybooks, please, and pay attention to spelling and pronunciation of the words. The first one is immature. That means behaving in a silly way, like a young person. Just have a look at this picture. Did you guess the translation of these words? The next one is creative. It means good at using his imagination and thinking of new ideas. Another word is charming. That means very pleasant. The next one is reasonable. That means fair and showing good judgment. Mature. It means sensible, like an adult. Just have a look at this boy. Isn't he mature? And modest. Not talking in a proud way about herself and the good things she has done. And now let's try to do some quiz. Try to find 6 adjectives here. Try to put them in a circle as far as you have found. Are you eager to check? Just have a look. So we have immature, modest, mature, reasonable, charming, and creative. Well done. Very good job. Now I'm going to present you some more adjectives describing character of people. Keep writing. If you don't know, try to guess the translation. The first one is sensitive. It means that this person tries to think about how other people feel. Loyal. This person supports his friends even when they are having difficult times. Did you get the meaning? Vain. It means when a person shows high opinion of his or her appearance and abilities. Next one is sociable. If person spends time with people and meets new people. Independent. So this person likes working on his own. And considerate. Takes into account other people's feelings. What do you think about enthusiastic? This person is always very interested in what somebody is doing. And courteous, that means polite and pleasant, respects other people. Confident, very certain of her own abilities. Flexible, any ideas about this word? That means to will to change his ideas if he has to. Original, different in your ideas from other people. Patient, that means always remains calm and doesn't get angry. Determined, always succeeds, though it's sometimes hard. Reliable, always does what she says she will do. Now, let's try to match the beginnings and endings of the words to make nouns. Write the words. Pay attention to spelling. Again, remember that you should add beginning plus ending, and you should have noun as a result. So we have 2 columns. Try to match. You have 2 minutes to do this task. I wish you success. Let's try to check. And what kind of nouns do we have here? By number 1 we have confidence, 2 is consideration, number 3 is courtesy, 4 is creativity, 5 enthusiasm, 6 is flexibility, 7 initiative, and loyalty. Well done, very good job. I'm so proud of you. Are you ready to know some more words? What about committed? That means loyal and willing to work hard. Assertive. Have you ever heard this word? It means not afraid to say what you want or think. The next one is conscientious. It puts a lot of effort into work. Ruthless, not caring if others suffer. Competitive, wanting to win very much. Decisive, able to make decisions quickly and confidently. Gullible, easily persuaded to believe something. And what about self-assured? Do you know the meaning of this word? That means very confident about his abilities. Introverted and extroverted. These words are antonyms. Introverted means when a person is quiet and shy and finds it difficult to talk to other people. And extroverted, it's opposite. An outgoing, socially confident person. Moody, has unpredictable changes of mood. And what about placid? Calm and peaceful with little movement or activity. Stubborn, is determined to do what they want and is very unwilling to change their mind. What about trustworthy? Is reliable, responsible, and can be trusted completely. Can you see the word trust here in this word? Well done. And actually, what is your style? I mean your handwriting. Do you like it? Is it distinct? Does it tell you about your personality? Can you recognize any features about people's handwriting? Have you ever thought about that? Let's try to read. You're going to have a task to complete the sentences with the words from this box, and you will know more about people's handwriting. We have such kind of words here: aggressive, bossy, considerate, emotional, extroverted, gullible, indecisive, introverted, materialistic, moody, open, placid, secretive, stubborn, and trustworthy. Listen to the text. We can tell a lot about someone by studying their handwriting. For example, it is said that untidy handwriting can tell us that person is. Try to think about the words that should fit this gap. Finding it difficult to make decisions. Handwriting which slopes to the right can be a sign of word. Person who is frequently angry and even violent towards others. Can you imagine? And handwriting with no dots over the letter I may be that of someone who is what kind of person? A quiet person who may have problems with making friends. Are you interested in? Should we go further? We asked an expert to look at several handwriting samples, and here's what she had to say about them. Let's have a look at the first one. This person is try to guess, person who cries easily. It's someone who hides their feelings and plans from others. Someone I would describe as, it's also someone who believes almost anything they are told. A very type. Do you have ideas how to fill the gaps? Let's have a look at one more. Looking at his balanced handwriting style tells us that this person is always happy to talk about their feelings and thoughts. It's the writing of a person who makes an excellent friend, always loyal and honest. They have a gentle nature and are often thinking of how others might feel or what others might need. And one more. On the other hand, this is the writing of a type who refuses to change their opinion. It's that of an extremely confident and person. This is someone who enjoys telling others what to do. I'd call them, try to guess how. This person would be difficult to live with, a very type who often gets annoyed for no good reason. They also think that money and possessions are more important than anything else. Is the word I would use to describe that aspect of this person's character. Are you successful in this exercise? Are you ready to check? Let's have a look. The first one, indecisive. Number 2, aggressive. Pay attention to the spelling of this word. We have double G and double S here. 3 is introverted. 4, emotional. 5, secretive. 6, gullible. 7, open. 8, loyal. 9, placid. 10, considerate. 11, stubborn. 12, extroverted. 13, bossy. 14, moody. And the last one, 15, materialistic. Do you have more than maybe 13 answers? Well done. Have you ever thought that reading and listening, maybe of short stories, of songs, they help you to increase your vocabulary and actually to gain a feeling for correct grammar, for correct pronunciation? And do you remember the name of the story? The name of our lesson? The Open Window. And actually we are going to read it. This is a book. Let me read some passage for you and then be ready to answer my questions. My aunt will be down presently, Mr. Nuttall, said a very self-possessed young lady of 15. In the meantime, you must try and put up with me. Frampton Nuttall endeavored to say the correct something, which should duly flatter the needs of the moment without unduly discounting the aunt that was to come. Privately, he doubted more than ever whether these formal visits on a succession of total strangers would do much towards helping the nerve cure which he was supposed to be undergoing. I know how it will be, his sister had said when he was preparing to migrate to this rural retreat. You will bury yourself down there and not speak to a living soul, and your nerves will be worse than ever from moping. I shall just give you letters of introduction to all the people I know there. Some of them, as far as I can remember, were quite nice. Frampton wondered whether Mrs. Sappleton, the lady to whom he was presenting one of the letters of introduction, came into the nice division. "Do you know many of the people around here?" asked the niece, when she judged that they had had sufficient silent communion. "Hardly a soul," said Frampton. "My sister was studying here at the rectory, you know, some 4 years ago, and she gave me letters of introduction to some of the people here." He made the last statement in a tone of distinct regret. "Then you know practically nothing about my aunt," pursued the self-possessed young lady. "Only her name and address," admitted the caller. He was wondering whether Mrs. Sappleton was in the married or widowed state. An undefinable something about the room seemed to suggest masculine habitation. "Her great tragedy happened just 3 years ago," said the child. "That would be since your sister's time." "Her tragedy?" asked Frampton. Somehow in this restful country spot tragedies seemed out of place. "You may wonder why we keep that window wide open on an October afternoon," said the niece, indicating a large French window that opened onto a lawn. "It's quite warm for the time of the year," said Frampton. "But has that window got anything to do with the tragedy?" And what do you think about this? Does it have any connection? And my questions. What do we learn about the girl in the story? And you have 3 choices. The girl is confident, the girl is very morbid, the girl is very self-absorbed. Put the correct letter in your copybook, please. Question number 2. Why has Mr. Nuttall come to the countryside? He has just left mental clinic and needs rest in a silent place. B. He has some kind of nervous problem and needs a rest. Probably he suffers from nervousness and needs to be alone. Question number 3. Why has he come on a visit to this house? The first choice. His sister has been a good friend of these people for 4 years and wants her brother to stay in the country. Or his sister met these people about 4 years ago and thinks he needs to meet them and stay in the rectory. And finally, his sister asked him to give her letter of introduction to some of the people in the country. One more question. What do we learn about the appearance of the room? There are windows that are also doors that are open to a lawn. The atmosphere seems to be slightly masculine rather than feminine. There are big open windows that lead onto a lawn. The atmosphere seems to be slightly masculine rather than feminine. And the last choice. There are windows that are also doors that are open back into a room. The atmosphere seems to be slightly masculine rather than feminine. And I have 4 more questions, but the task is different. Try to identify true or false statements. The first one. Frampton Nuttall was visiting France. Mr. Nuttall was on a business trip. One more. Frampton's sister had met Mrs. Sappleton. And the last one, the weather was mild. Now it's time to check. So we have the first one, correct answer is A, in number 2 is B, in number 3 it's A, and number 4 it's A. 5 and 6 we have false here, 7 and 8 we have true. Please put a shift for this task for yourself if you have 3 correct answers to the questions and if you have 3 correct answers to the true or false questions. In general, you should have 6 correct answers. Do you have achieved? Well done. Are you ready for the next task? Let's go further. Now with a partner, discuss how you think the story might continue. I mean, try to predict the continuation of the story. What has happened already? Try to remember some clues. Think about what you know and try to guess about what will happen next. Are you ready to know what is going to happen? Now you're going to listen to the text continued, and you have a task to mark the statements as true or false. Have a look at the statements. 4 men went hunting. This is the 3rd anniversary of the tragedy. The bodies were discovered in a bog. The man had a dog with them. One of the men had a blue raincoat with him. And the last one, the aunt's brother always used to sing a particular song to tease his aunt. Are you ready? Let's try to listen.
Out through that window, 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her 2 young brothers went off for their day's shooting. They never came back. In crossing the moor to their favourite snipe shooting ground, they were all 3 engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been that dreadful wet summer, you know, and places that were safe in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. Poor aunt always thinks that they will come back some day, they and the little brown spaniel that was lost with them, and walk in at that window, just as they used to do. That is why the window is kept open every evening till it is quite dusk. Poor dear aunt! She has often told me how they went out, her husband with his white waterproof coat over his arm, and Ronnie, her youngest brother, singing "Bertie, why do you bound?" as he always did to tease her, because she said it got on her nerves. Do you know, sometimes on still, quiet evenings like this, I almost get a creepy feeling that they will all walk in through that window.
Okay. Are you ready to check? So the first one is false. Yeah. What's true? There were 3 men, not 4. The second one is true. What about the letter C? Of course it's false. The bodies were not found, but it was presumed they had drowned in a bog. D is true, but E again, it's incorrect. It was a white raincoat. And what about the last one? It's true. Very good job. Well done. Now, read the next part of the story. And what do you think will happen next? Let me read. She broke off with a little shudder. It was a relief to Frampton when the aunt bustled into the room with a whirl of apologies for being late in making her appearance. I hope Vera has been amusing you, she said. She has been very interesting, said Frampton. I hope you don't mind the open window, said Mrs. Appleton briskly. My husband and brothers will be home directly from shooting, and they always come in this way. They've been out for snipe in the marsh today, so they'll make a fine mess over my poor carpets. So like you menfolk, isn't it? She rattled on it cheerfully about the shooting and the scarcity of birds, and the prospects for ducks in the winter. To Frampton it was all purely horrible. He made a desperate, but only partially successful effort to turn the talk on to a less ghastly topic. He was conscious that his hostess was giving him only a fragment of her attention, and her eyes were constantly straying past him to the open window and the lawn beyond. It was certainly an unfortunate coincidence that he should have paid his visit on this tragic anniversary. The doctors agree in ordering me complete rest, an absence of mental excitement, and avoidance of anything in the nature of violent physical exercise, announced Frampton, who labored under the tolerably widespread delusion that total strangers are chance acquaintances, are hungry for the least detail of one's ailments and infirmities, their course and cure. On the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement, he continued. No, said Mrs. Sappleton, in a voice which only replaced a yawn at the last moment. Then she suddenly brightened into alert attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. Now, listen to the end of the story. How far were your predictions correct? Why do you think Mr. Nuttall and the niece each behaved as they did at the end of the story? Try to keep these questions in your mind while listening.
"Here they are at last," she cried, "just in time for tea, and don't they look as if they were muddy up to the eyes?" Frampton shivered slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to convey sympathetic comprehension. The child was staring out through the open window with a dazed horror in her eyes. In a chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in the same direction. In the deepening twilight, 3 figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. They all carried guns under their arms, and one of them was additionally burdened with a white coat hung over his shoulders. A tired brown spaniel kept close at their heels. Noiselessly, they neared the house, and then a hoarse young voice chanted out of the dusk, "I said, Bertie, why do you bound?" Frampton grabbed wildly at his stick and hat. The hall door, the gravel drive, and the front gate were dimly noted stages in his headlong retreat. A cyclist coming along the road had to run into the hedge to avoid imminent collision. "Here we are, my dear," said the bearer of the white mackintosh, coming in through the window. "Fairly muddy, but most of it's dry. Who was that who bolted out as we came up?" "A most extraordinary man, a Mr. Nuttall," said Mrs. Sappleton. "Could only talk about his illnesses, and dashed off without a word of goodbye or apology when you arrived. One would think he had seen a ghost." "I expect it was the spaniel," said the niece calmly. "He told me he had a horror of dogs. He was once hunted into a cemetery somewhere on the banks of the Ganges by a pack of pariah dogs, and had to spend the night in a newly dug grave, with the creatures snarling and grinning and foaming just above him. Enough to make anyone lose their nerve." Romance, at short notice, was her speciality.
So, how far were your predictions correct? And can you answer the question, why do you think Mr. Nuttall and the niece each behaved as they did at the end of the story? Can you exchange with your partner with your ideas, please? Actually, do you like the story? Well done. Now I'd like to pay your attention to some chunks of language and that are taken from the story. Your task is to guess what are the missing words. Note that sentences come from reading extracts. Keep writing in your copybooks, please. Sentence by the letter A. He doubted whether these formal visits would do much towards helping the nerve cure he was supposed to be. Try to think about the sentence that should be here. Next. What is B? You will bury yourself down there and not speak to a living. What word is missing here? Next one, by the letter C. Some of them, as I can remember, were quite nice. Did you guess the word? D. In this restful country, sports tragedies seemed out of. What word should be here? E. The aunt bustled into the room with a row of apologies for being late in making her. Do you remember this word? And the last one, just one more try. By the letter F. They'll a fine mess over my poor capits. Are you ready to check your answers? So, have a look. By the letter A, we have undergoing. Soul is by the letter B. Far is by the letter C. Place, D. Appearance, E. And the last one is make. Now you have a task to write a detailed description of one character from the story, The Open Window. Do you remember the names of our main heroes? Include references from the story as well as your personal opinion of this character. And have a look, please, at success criteria. The first one is a wide range of vocabularies used. At least 9 new words describing characters. Linking words, at least it should be 4. The description should be direct and well organized. I mean the structure here. The sentences should be logically connected. The writer should express complete thoughts. Various types of sentences should be included. And the last one, the description should be within 120 and 150 words. Try to make a kind of plan before writing. And after finishing, please proofread your work. Then exchange with your partner and try to read and try to give some comments to your partner. How should he improve his work in order to achieve according to all these criteria? Do you have any questions? Good job. And now, can we play a game with you? The game is called Snowball. Try to name all the words that you remember from our lesson, all the adjectives, but not repeat each other, please. We will see who is the winner. Do we have winners? Well done, very good job. And now, your home task. At home, I would like you to pay attention to the spelling and pronunciation of all adjectives describing character traits of people. Try to find more. And one more task is to describe the character of one of the heroes from our story, The Open Window. But you should do it orally. Try to improve your speaking skills as well. And please complete the self-evaluation sheet. What have I understood? What haven't you understood? What have you learned? And how do you evaluate your skills? And have a look at the list of literature that was used in order to prepare this lesson for you. It was such a pleasure to spend this time with you. Thank you very much for being with me. And thank you. Goodbye.